We're back. It's Wednesday. It's part 2 of how to do social selling online. We got an action-packed show for you today. We're going to talk about messaging, how to craft the right messaging to start the right conversation. See you in 60 seconds.
Power to pay. Power to pay.
All right. Good to be back with everybody today. We're in our offices today, and I have my co-host Bill Walton with me. Bill, good to see you this morning.
James, good to see you. I tell you what, that intro music just gets me fired up. So I'm having a moment right now. So good to see everybody.
We got to set the tone, right? You got to have some energy when you're in your business mode, right? I mean, shoot. You know, I was thinking about this actually the other day. I was like, man, what's changed since COVID and the pandemic with a virtual remote office? And I was like, oh my gosh, I think if there was one thing that went away like big time, it's the water cooler talk. Like it's to sit next to your buddy riffing and having fun, and that went away in remote offices. I was like, holy smokes, that's a big shift. You know?
Yeah, I mean, heck, I've been working remotely for 15 or 20 years right now, and it does get lonely. Lucky you and I have each other. You know, I would say I'm hoping our audience has a few of their clients, hopefully most of their clients, that, you know, you're the pause that refreshes. I know we've got our clients of ours that, you know, we're the bright spot in their day. You know, we get them off the treadmill or the habit trail of endless meetings and shifting priorities and not enough money, not enough people, you know, to do what they've got to do. And, you know, we can be that breath of fresh air. And, you know, I think a little bit about today is to have maybe our messaging kind of reflect that.
Yep.
Because we always need to sell value for time, right? And I think that's what our clients get from us is, hey, every time Ascend shows up, it's going to be a good meeting because we've always got something fresh. We're always thinking of our client. We've always got an idea or a conversation starter or something that's kind of a pebble in our shoe that we're thinking about, right? We're always kind of grinding on it. We're always thinking about it for our clients. And hopefully, I think we're going to get at some of that today and give folks the what, not the how, which is kind of our pledge.
Absolutely. We want to give you the strategy, of course, and the why, but we definitely want to get into the what every single time because we're here to help serve you, give you tactical advice so you can implement right away and see a change, see an improvement in what you're trying to achieve. So we're going to continue this morning with our 3-part series, the 4 pillars of social selling. Yesterday, we spent a great deal of time talking with you about list building and all the different things to consider as you focus your business and what you're selling to a specific buyer, a specific market, and for certain reasons that align with what you're able to deliver and also what your market wants. And so now it's all about how do we, you know, craft the right message that starts the right conversation. And this is the kicker, right? Because we all have this happen pretty much every day. We get pitched on social media from people that we don't know. And more or less there's a feel and a look to the text and the message, and you can see it from a mile away. And you know it's just as bad as pretty much an email that you delete on your phone every day. You don't usually read it, and that's a problem, right? That's a problem because you don't want to be that person. 2, you actually want someone to stop and read what you wrote them. And so we have to, 3, come up with a message strategy and a system on how to craft the right messages, and especially even how to respond to messages that are deemed difficult or vague when you're connected with new people. So we're going to talk to you about that today.
Yeah, I'm excited, James, because, before, we got into our consulting practice, I worked for other firms, consulting firms, larger other firms, that the only messaging we had was some byline on a website or the back of some brochure that was totally vanilla and not related to an industry or anyone that I was kind of selling to. So, not want to kind of sit back and wait for someone else to make me successful. I started making up the messaging, on the fly. And I realized, it had to be less about what I was doing and more context about that individual's issues and opportunities. And I really want to talk about that today. And a couple of things that are on my mind around messaging is, everyone's probably wondering, gosh, what do I say? But I think today we're going to talk about is where do we say it? Because the platform matters. So that's number 2. The other thing I'm thinking about is, you're probably not going to, if your lead on your list, your prospect is somewhat cold. I don't mean cold. I mean, if a prospect is on your list, it's not cold because for some reason it's on your list, whether it's a warm door, it's a prospect that exhibits some characteristics of existing clients that you have, or, hey, I've got 3 other clients in that same industry. They're likely, they have 3 of the same problems. They're on your list for a reason. So I'm just going to say and make the assumption that nothing is cold. So the point where I'm going with that is you might not get that opportunity for the home run email, the home run social media diatribe, that home run link to a piece of thought leadership or content. You might have to create a stream of consciousness. So we're going to talk about messaging today, but the top folks on anyone's list, anyone worth reaching out to, is not going to be easy to get a hold of. They're busy, they're successful, they've got other folks like us calling on them. So I want to talk about messaging from a couple standpoints. What do we say? What platform? What context? And then what's my overall communication strategy? One of the things that hopefully you're finding from watching us and listening to us at Ascend is that, you can't have a sales strategy without a content strategy.
That's
and,
right.
All the value creation hens have come back to roost that says, oh my gosh, you know what? Oh, I've got to talk about insights and what I'm seeing in the marketplace before I start talking about my solution, my widget, my pen, my medical device, my rental car, my antibiotic. Oh, okay. All right. But then what? Well, now we finally have the then what, right? The consuming public, all of us on this call, right? We have a voracious appetite for content because now we have the time to actually read the trade manuals and the emails and the newsletters and the research reports. So the health and the appetite is out there. So much of the messaging, though, that we need to deliver has to be contextual and also in alignment with what we think our prospects are already reading.
Yeah.
I think about the auto industry all the time. You walk into an auto dealer and it's almost kind of like sometimes I'm approached like I've never seen a website or never thought about buying a car before, right? Like I'm 3 steps ahead of the salesperson. I know, the curb weight and the size of the tires on the car I'm looking for, beyond what someone else knows. So that's a piece that we've got to talk to about today is the messaging and contextual alignment. So that was kind of a mouthful. So I'm going to be quiet now and let you.
No, that's it. So what I want you guys to do as you're watching this today is, pull out your phone and go on your social media, go wherever you're getting, you use this. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube right now. You're getting DMs on Instagram, you're getting DMs on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Pull out your phone where you're getting DMs and we're going to go through. We're going to talk about messaging and what's going on and what isn't working and why. And some of it's pretty obvious, but we got to talk about it because what I love about this topic is that it's really a new iteration or a new version of the same challenges you had when you were selling without social selling. It was without social media. Well, that leaves you with what? if you're in a boiler room and you're making tons of calls, right? We're now remote, but you're cold calling, you're following up, you're prospecting, you're selling on the phone, or you're emailing to generate, warm prospects. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. What are you saying? What are you saying? Because especially, this, I'm not preaching to the choir, but man, I made thousands of cold calls in my day in corporate B2B selling. You have 5 seconds when you get someone on the phone to say something that's right, to get their attention, that they don't hang up on. And if it's off, click. See you later. It's a contact sport. Emails today, man, good luck. Emails about to get even harder with iOS 15 coming out. Read up on that. We're strategizing and putting some plans together, but it's going to get even tougher. If you thought it was tough for you to reach people now with your emails, just wait, because the open statistic that we all thought was good is not going to be really a good statistic anymore to measure success by. It's going to be more about actual clicks on your content and response activity. So we got to have messages that people want to talk about. You don't want to be the guy that gets deleted in a second because you're irrelevant or you're not important, or both. And so that's what we're going to get into today is how can you talk with people online when you can't see their face and you're doing it through a medium of direct message or commenting on content? How do you do it so that it doesn't sound like a salesy thing where they delete you, but how do you do it so when they read it in a 3-second reaction, they see it, they have a reaction, and they're excited or interested to engage with you? That's the reaction we need to create when we message people. And what you'll see today, you guys, is it's not hard, but it is hard, right? It's putting in the elbow grease of learning your audience, learning what they care about, learning what they're already talking about by studying them. Kind of, we talked about this yesterday in the list building section, but that goes into this because we have to enter the conversation almost midstream on where they already are and have that point of view that Bill and I have been talking about on our podcast and here, and just jump into the conversation. And you'll find out real quick if they think that's cool or they think you're totally not even close, and they'll let you know, or they'll just ignore you. So that's another good test is if you're getting ignored and you know that they're active and they've probably seen your message, then you might want to change your message strategy if you get a lot of ignored responses. So
no, I love that. The phrase I used to use is, the treadmill's already running, right? Picture that, with your client or your prospect, right? We need to kind of match speed. So I'm thinking, James, maybe we jump into some goodies, right? A little bit about the what. I'm thinking 2 things as an entree into messaging is, and you hit it right on the head before, is, I never write an email, post a content on social media, or write it on or DM someone without having some hypothesis of an understanding of their world. So that's the mindset you need to have. So since day one of selling, you probably all have been told, well, you need to prepare and get ready for a sales call, right? And, there's probably 10 different definitions of what get ready and prepare means. What we talked about yesterday is, we got to think about some hypothesis of value, and value meaning that value is industry and role specific. The person who's on your list, they have a title, they have a role, they're responsible for certain things. There are things that are going swimmingly well in their organization and their job, and there are other things that aren't, right? And that's called life, and that's reality. Yep. So we need to kind of tap into that. The acronym we used yesterday, and I'll bring it forward again, is called MAIN. MAIN like in Main Street, MAIN. And just a brief review of that is M is the market. What market are your clients or prospects operating in? Whether it be rental car, major Big Four consulting, mobile technology, cybersecurity, consumables, new consumer products, consumables, beverages, whatever the industry, whatever the the sub-industry and that person's title, they're responsible for something and they operate in a market. So that's the market for those items. So that's M. A is the account, the actual organization. What's happening in that company? What awards are they receiving in terms of, a top culture, how they're doing against diversity and inclusion efforts, recruiting, again, accolades in the news. Are they bringing on talent? Are they investing? Are they divesting? So what's happening in that account, right? Each company has a culture and has some goings on. So that's A for the account. I is the actual individual, right? The first thing we want to do is either go to LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and find out a little bit about that individual. And I like to figure out, what are their personal self-interest? If you can imagine, who might be a director of IT or a VP of IT in a hospital chain or a hospital system, what they care about, versus a VP of IT for a rental car company, right? They have distributed vehicles and they have a duty of care for their customers and their clients. It's just a different job, a different kind of how they look at risk is different, how they look at technology and how that enables their operation. So that's the individual. And the N is networks. And this is key because we want to assume or get a sense for where our clients and prospects are going for their straight dope. Where are they going to get their insights? How are they going to stay current? So that's the end of networks. And then we want to go to our own networks. What are we realizing in our networks of sales and sellers or the particular industry that you're in? So that's this is kind of thought number 2. We talked about mindset, right? Developing this hypothesis. And the what or the how we do that is looking at that infrastructure or that structure of Maine that I just talked about. Right. So that's kind of number 1. Number 2, I want to give you another goodie here. And that is what I call the I, what, you statement. Now, I'm going to give you a framework that you're going to be able to build for introductory email statements or emails to individuals and also in social media. And again, social media, we need to kind of truncate that, keep it quip, keep it clean, keep characters at a minimum. But I want to give you these kind of 3 stages of a message that can really help you. And it can help you stay out of promote and tell land and keep you in credibility land. So if you're ready for that, I'd love to give you the I, what, why framework. The I is pretty easy. The I is who you are and who you represent. So that's the basics. The extra credit around the I statement is what your moniker is, what you're known for, your mascot, your reputation. Right. For me, I'm coach, right? James is, we are coaches. I love coaching, but many of our clients think, gosh, we play chess on 3 levels. We can look at the opportunity that's immediately in front of us. We can see the organizational implication and also what's happening in the marketplace. We have 3 views, inner, outer, and then our, in terms of the view of what we do for a living. So finding a very credible way to talk about you and your organization and maybe who you serve and the problems that you solve, right? That up front. So that's the I. The what is what you actually do and why clients still appreciate your involvement in their business. So that's the what. Second portion. This is where most messaging, where the ball rolls off the table and is not included. This is the credibility statement. What you actually do and why clients value your involvement in their affairs and in their business. Think about that. And if you don't know what clients value in your involvement, I would ask them and have a good hypothesis around this. So if you're with me, step 1 was the kind of the I statement, who you are and what you're all about and what problems you solve and who you do that with. Number 2 is the what you're actually doing and why a client or a prospect should hypothetically value your involvement in their business and you and your organization. We'll treat that as one. The third one is the you statement. And this is where your research and your preparation comes full circle. And this comes back to value creation. That value is in the eye of the beholder. That is role and industry specific. So the you statement is why I thought you would be interested. We've been working with a lot of CFOs who are really trying to balance being financially prudent with investing for the business. And we have, let's just say if you work in the era of cybersecurity, one of the things we're helping our clients do, our financial leadership clients do, is make the right level of investment of cybersecurity for their organization, given their financial disciplines and their budgetary constraints and controls. I've got a couple clients in similar industries that have recently made some decisions, and I'd love to share with you their thought process and maybe a little bit about how we help them through it. That's the you statement. And that's where you have to have that hypothesis coming out of that main framework that I told you, is to be able to almost make an assessment and be bold to say, listen, here's where I thought you might be interested. Let someone say, hey, Bill, actually, that's not my issue. My issue is X, not Y. And then you're still golden. So let me kind of come back to where we started here. Two of the ways that we can get you ready for any type of messaging, any platform, any way, even face-to-face meetings, is to do that prep, kind of immerse yourself in that prospect's world, given their industry and their title and their role, as well as what the 4 elements of Maine are telling you, what's happening in the market, what's happening in that account or the organization, what's happening with that individual or individuals like them, and then what is their network saying for their top conferences? What do the agendas say? For our top conferences, what are the agendas saying, right? So we can find some harmonization there. And then you want to use that framework, the I, what, and the you. Who you are, what you do, and why clients find value in that, and why you thought that prospect would be interested. Some might call those social proof emails, and you can use variants of this across platforms. But let me kind of pause here. And James, if you're still there, come back to how a framework like this would apply for those folks who are trying to make inroads in social selling, and maybe in particular on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got some things teed up for the audience. I want to share. I want to actually have you do some commentary with me as we show you guys this stuff, to see how this actually works and what we're talking about here. So check this out. This is a survey we ran on LinkedIn, asking a short question. What did the audience think on what is a successful direct message? And the majority said they nailed the pain, claim, gain, or they were intrigued by a said solution. It actually had nothing to do with how many times you've sent a message out, obvious, or it really, the other thing that if you're like overvaluing this or not sure, your personal brand is important, but at the end of the day, you got to talk about their business and their issues, which is what we're saying here. So it was just cool to see that survey by LinkedIn, and the audience felt pretty strongly with that. So I'm going to show you guys this. Here's an example of, let me get this pulled up here. See if I can show you guys this. A message. Now I'm blocking myself. Let's see if we had Bill. There, we'll put it in the middle. Perfect. It splits us. So here's 2 messages. We're gonna go through this together and decide, was this Maine or not? Was this about, addressing some kind of thought leadership business issue that I have and inviting me into a conversation, or was it more telling and selling, which is what you don't want to do, right? So this is one DM I got recently, and many of you do this type of DM, or I've seen this a lot. It's about inviting you to an event. Totally cool. You can do that. But this is the first time I've heard from this person. I've never met with them. I've never talked to them before. They're brand new. And this is the first thing they say to me. Hi, James. I'd like to invite you to a panel discussion on bump, bump, bump. This is a must-attend event for anyone concerned about identity fraud risk. Learn about blank. Here's the link. Sincerely. So let's break this down for a second. What is this message missing that would make it better for me to be more interested? First of all, Bill, and chime in when you want to. Let's jump right here. This is a must-attend event for anyone concerned. Am I anyone? I thought my name was James, right? It's not personal. You can tell this is a blanket message. 2, I don't know. What if I'm not familiar with KPMG, Canada, or Jumio? Those references may mean nothing to me. It doesn't establish any credibility at all, even though they probably wanted to use those as credibility resources. They may have interest to me at all. So that whole segment there had no value to me. So rather than maybe write this message out of the gate, they could have probably positioned this a little bit better and taken half of this text out if they were to say something like, "Hey, James, so glad for your connection. I want to be someone that provides, value and insights. So, you know, let me ask you, are you concerned at all right now about, identity fraud risk for you and your business? Period and stop. Question mark, actually. Start a conversation, right? Don't throw me a blanket block of text. And what that will
Here's
do
the,
is
here's
it'll
the
give you the
fundamental.
choice.
Yeah, here's
Right?
the fundamental problem with this message. They're selling the noun, not the verb. Here's what I mean by that. I want to invite you to a thing. We've got this thing on this date, and this thing is really going to be special to anyone around an issue that you may or may not be experiencing, that they're calling that thing fraud risk, right? So it's noun, thing. You want to start with the verb. The verb could be a piece of research, right? In terms of identity fraud. As a result of the pandemic and more businesses and families using the internet and out of the home and conducting e-commerce and business out of the home, most of those Wi-Fi environments are not protected. And it's only the smart few that have used VPNs or decided to purchase some safe cyber networking protection. That's a big number. That's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to invite you to a panel discussion to talk about what businesses, small businesses, and folks like yourself might be able to do to protect yourself against blank. See the lead in there? When you lead with the verb?
Yes.
And that's what, especially I would imagine, I'm going to make a hypothesis here. A lot of our audience today thinking about their lists we talked about yesterday and their messaging is to get that first meeting. Well, you have to sell value for time, whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? And if you're selling the noun, you are not going to get that meeting. If you're selling the contextual verb, that's going to get someone energized. Oh my gosh, I might be able to solve this problem. Oh my gosh, I'm going into a meeting. I might have a factoid or a nugget or some insight that I don't really have, and I'm going to look really good. Awesome. Or
Let me show you one more.
Right. So show us. No, sorry, I'm pontificating here.
No, this is great.
I'm tracking with you. I wanted to kind of sharpen the lens that everyone's kind of looking at, and hopefully they don't feel too bad if they
no. Yeah. I mean, and again, it was professionally written, but it didn't land, right? And so here's one more example, and then we're going to show you an example of a totally like what does work in a second. So here's another one. This is more of a pitch, service solution, statement. Again, never spoke with this person before. This was, I believe, an invite, right? So, hey, hope all is well and you're staying busy. First of all, James, how are you finding clients on LinkedIn? That may or may not be a concern of mine. It's just a thought, right? As a headline, may or may not be something I care about. Just point that out. Hope all is well and you're staying busy. I enjoyed your profile and noticed you were offering services in your showcase area here on LinkedIn. That part's true. At the moment, our company is automating in some unique ways on that words can't describe. I don't know if I'd say that. Can I intrigue you with a video that shows what I'm talking about? It never hurts to learn what's possible when you combine social platforms together. We found automating brand awareness and personalized intros are a nice mix when creating the correct way. How cool is that? So I have a couple issues with this message, and you probably already can tell where I'm going to go with this. First of all, we see this in emails all the time. We see this everywhere, but there's no need to have the niceties up here like this. It really, it doesn't do any value. It takes away reader time and attention that you barely have anyways. Get to the point and give me value or I'm out. Right. Second thing is,
James, you're hitting right on something. I want to, before you move on, I want to let folks know, think about how much of email in particular, if you're looking at email or even social media messaging, how much of that is being read on a mobile device versus a computer.
Mm-hmm.
If you got an iPhone or a smartphone, you've got, and it's an email, you've got 3 lines. You got a subject line and 2 lines of content that people are making a decision in 10 to 12 seconds. So,
If
think
that.
about what James is saying here, right? It's got to be impact, it's got to be directed to me, and there's got to be, you've got to have a reason for me to keep scrolling.
And another thing to consider, right? And if you've done advertising, these, but let's take Facebook for example. They measure their viewing statistics on an ad, video ad, 3 seconds. 3 seconds is an eternity for a thumb scroller, right? If you can stop for 3 seconds and focus on an ad, you get a ding, you get a check mark. And so even with this, I was in recruiting for 11 years, and I've read tens of thousands of resumes in my career. And to get good and to get fast and proficient at your job, one thing you learn really quickly is your eyes go from top left to bottom right, and you scan a resume. You scan a piece of paper. You go whoop, just like a speed reading. You can speed read a page. So when I'm looking at a phone and we're reading our messages like this, you look at that for a split second, I can pretty much read the entire message and know what it's basically talking about. So what would make this person's message immediately better, it would be better if they just eliminated this entire first statement altogether and end it and start with a question. Like have the question mark should be the end. Don't continue saying anything after a question mark. That takes away the power of the question. It takes away the power of me responding. That's the beautiful part of a question mark, is it's a pause point that provokes a response. But if you add to it after that, you're taking away that ability for me to do that. So that's one strategy there. In an email, in a headline, in a message. In my personal advice as a marketer, I would never continue talking after a question, unless it was a more of a rhetorical question. Then you could maybe continue. But if you're actually wanting me to know and answer you, don't continue talking about anything. Let me respond. The second thing here is this message is interesting because it's talking about a solution in a video thing where it sounds interesting, but why not just show me? Like, if your tech is so cool, can you show me somehow in this message what that looks like? So I don't have to maybe think about it, and then I don't really have a way to really check it out quickly. I'm now going to have to respond to you, and then you're probably going to have to send me some kind of link or invitation. And guess what? I'm out of time. I'm now out of time. I've moved on. It would almost be better in this message, if I were to restructure this, is to say something like, James, glad for your connection. In today's world of digital selling and business, automation is playing a very strategic role for the success of sales sources. Can I, let's see. And then I would say, here's something that we've done to address the usefulness of automation and video. Check out this link here and let me know what you think. Something like that. That would, at least to Bill's point, you're stating a business use case and problem that we definitely would agree with if we read that. And then you provide a solution, like an intrigue solution point, to say, here's a little teaser or taste of what this is.
Yeah.
Just give me it. Let me feel it, touch it, see it somehow, so I can actually, in a moment's notice, either see it there or click a link and see it in a second and actually have a quick experience. And if I have either of those, then I'm more likely to give you feedback, because you've now intrigued me. I saw something cool, and now we can have a pretty cool conversation. But this kind of just lingered on. So I'm rambling a little bit, but does that make sense?
Well, while you're number one, you never ramble. You're a continuous coach. So I'm going to make you feel good about that. So that's number two. I was just taking some notes. I love what you were saying. I want to kind of unbundle this and give the audience 4 bullet points. Maybe we can kind of put this on the screen. I'll go a little slow here.
Yeah.
Now we talked about email already, right? With that kind of the I, what, you statement for emails. On social, when I'm trying to connect with the first connection, I think of, and I'm piggybacking what James said here. Here's the first part. I call it regard for the individual, the organization, and the industry. Regard for the individual, organization, or the industry. What I mean by that is I'm tapping into, I love what you guys are doing in the cyberspace, whether it's cyber email protection, cyber data storage, cyber, cloud security, right? There's multiple aspects of cyber, for example. So I'm really jazzed what you're doing, in the world that we're in, maybe HR development, employee engagement, right? There's a lot of SaaS solutions around employee engagement, and some of them are really great, right? They're finally giving folks a voice in their own development and, building a culture on that. So that's number one, regard for the individual, organization, or the industry. Number two is introducing a problem or a hot topic. Wasn't too long ago, what was trending was done on a weekly basis, and then it became daily. Then it was hourly, and now it's, I don't know, every time I look up, I look down, something else is trending. So that's number two, introducing a problem or a hot topic. One of the things that we started talking about, James and I, as an organization a year ago, was that 58% of all salespeople, of which there are 700,000 in the country, maybe 800,000, had never sold remotely. So if I'm a CEO, or I'm running a sales organization, and nearly 60% of my people have never used any technology or any methodology for selling remotely and have relied on trains, planes, and automobiles and the face-to-face breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee talk, adult beverage after work. Now I've got to do all this messaging stuff remotely. That's a gap. That's a problem or an opportunity. 51% of high-performing salespeople who are using social media are likely to hit quota versus those who are not.
Did you say 58%, Bill, in the U.S. sales force have not sold remotely?
Had not sold remotely.
That is incredible.
And what we're seeing in a lot of industries, I think about financial services, where you have an external sales force and then you have an internal desk, and the internals are blowing away their numbers because they get a chance to show off, right? This is what they've done, right? I'm building relationships over the phone. I've got access to data. Hey, let me send you a link. We've got this recent trend research, it'll only take about 11 or 12 minutes. If you got time, shoot me your email or DM me, your contact info. We'll jump right online. They're used to doing that. They're agile. They're facile. So that's number two, introducing a problem or a hot topic. So we had number one, regard for the individual, organization, or industry. Number two, introducing a problem or hot topic. Number three is what you just said, James, posing a question. In social dialogue, you have to be Socratic because you want to invite inquiry. I'm interested in your point of view. What do you think? And James and I have been riffing online over the last couple of days. It's been amazing. And those of you, hopefully, are online that we've DM'd with you, and we're just grateful because we're in this together, right? We're all trying to do this. And the fourth piece is, that offer to connect or share an insight. Now you might be thinking, okay, Bill, I don't want to rush this. So that might be kind of, three parts, and, fourth would be the extra credit as a follow-up to offer a thought piece or something of relevance. But, that offer to connect or share some insights is now it's all contextual. Because early on in the dialogue, if you haven't done your main research, if you hadn't said, hey, kudos for what you're doing, around your employee culture, there's no context. And I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to engage with you. Man, you did your homework. You know my space. Oh my gosh. You know 50 or 60 of my connections. There's a reason for that.
Yep.
And, you're dialed into my problems. So that's kind of four parts to think about in a social message. All you need to do, the art, not so much the science, is now to economize on syllables and characters so that it still stays pithy and readable and legible, and keeps that attention span. So that was
great,
capturing what you had there, James.
Let's show you guys. These are messages, guys. We sent. This is one that we just sent out 2 days ago. Okay, so everything we're talking about is super relevant. It's in real time. We're not giving you stuff that's old. This is real happening right now in business. Here's a message that we crafted to somebody in our top 100 list for a an ideal prospect. And Bill, I'll let you comment on this because this was something you crafted. And this is a great use case, guys, of someone that maybe you've connected with, but it's been a while, or you dropped the ball and you haven't really been on top of your follow-up. It's totally, it happens. Here's a way you can get back in the saddle quickly and restart a conversation with someone you really want to connect with. So, hi, Todd. This is way overdue. Thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn. I love company branding, the company that they're at, companies branding as we follow fast-moving digital disruptors. We're doing the same in our space, trying to collapse the sales cycle with our AI prospecting platform designed to make LinkedIn actually work for a selling effort. So right there, we're acknowledging what that company does, and we're also letting them know that we know what they do, but we're also telling them that we do something similar or in the same kind of industry focus. And then to Bill's point, we end with a question. What seems to be the best path for your people as they bring your company's message to the field? Glad for your insights. Todd, their name. People love saying their name, right? We just said it twice. So warmest Bill. I love this message because it's so not salesy. It is totally about their business, about their industry, personalized, and it's asking for their advice and insight on something that they probably have a lot to say. I love this. Bill, any thoughts on this?
Well, I would say kudos to this individual because they had done a really good job on their LinkedIn profile. And I was able to garner a lot about this individual. I look at someone's career path. I was able to kind of see that. And then also how they talk about their role and how they talk about the company referenced against. And I go to the company page and see how the company's talking about them. So then I get some context, and they're in an industry, I believe they're an insurtech, where, they are trying to take a traditionally a more conservative, I don't like to say slow moving, I would just say conservative legacy organization who now is kind of trying to play catch up in the world of digital operations, digital business. And some of their challenges and the things that they were trying to accomplish, I just immediately resonated with me. So while the language is important here, I got to be honest with you, I'm going to sound really squishy and Pollyannish here. I kind of try to lead with my heart as well as my head. Like, I just had a lot of empathy as I kind of looked at this organization, what they were trying to do. And I just tried to honestly communicate, well, what are we trying to do too? This feels so similar to me. And the words just flowed, right? And eventually we kind of, wordsmithed it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know, like, how are they doing it? Because you're doing the same thing we're doing. And you're a disruptor. You've got to connect to value, right? You bring a little bit of risk for someone, for a large organization that's not used to doing digital, a digital business model. So I appreciate the kudos, but that was nice and a great way to warm up an old lead.
Absolutely. Let me see. I got one more here for us, and then we'll wrap up. So check this out. This is a little bit long. I know it's like, whoa, it's a lot of text. I get it. But I'll tell you what, if messaging is right, long text actually is good. It can really expand on something that this reader cares about. And I can't say I know a lot of folks that do it well, because the truth is that a lot of folks don't do it well, but there's some that do it very well, and it works as long as you're on message. So let's check this out real quick. Good morning, Laura. Happy Monday. I wanted to share some brief thoughts as well as a video. 19 months ago, we were all put on the internal sales desk. For some of it was business as usual, but others struggled. Those who were facile with digital technology and had a high degree of business acumen flourished. But when content became king, it put pressure on sales organizations to stay relevant. So that's what we're doing. Injecting credibility and speed into the sales process for fast companies with a plan. We use our AI suite of tools and sales training to leverage tech that most everyone already has, access to the internet, LinkedIn, and Sales Navigator. Too much to write here, but our AI is not just a productivity bot. It actually analyzes the message. Here's a link to the video with our CEO and me talking about this. I'll circle back to you with more goodies soon. Thanks for connecting with me. So this is a different approach, right? This is, again, but you'll notice that there's structure of the same. The beginning here is we are addressing a state of the state with the industry that we're in that they would resonate with. You can see that there at the very top. Where we've been the last 19 months.
Just to start to interrupt you, just a point here for the audience. This was actually an invitation from the prospect that I have been communicating with socially. This is a response to more information.
Okay.
And the length of this, I was okay with the length of this because in this person's profile, they had put a 2 or 3 paragraph definition of why they do what they do. And this individual had told a story of an impactful coach that she had, a sports coach. And she is also a sports coach for women, and how that's helped her in her career. So there's some tangents there. And so I was okay with the length of this only because, number one, we had already started the dialogue, and, you know, there was there's more context there. And I felt that, you know, I took the time to read her prose. She was dialoguing with me. We probably had 2 or 3 DMs going back and forth on LinkedIn. And this was a request for information. This is probably 4 to 5 lines longer than I normally would respond.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think I had open eyes and ears with this particular prospect to set the context for what I'm about to send her and why I actually even reached out.
Got it. That makes total sense. But even with that context, Bill, and that definitely helps justification for a longer response. Mm-hmm. The structure that you and I are both talking about still is very visible here, right? You're framing the conversation or the response with an industry issue they are dealing with, challenges that they're seeing and facing, and things that we are all really having to figure out. You know, remote selling with digital technology, and finding a way to break through the noise. And then you go into, here's what we're doing, right? So it's not salesy, so to speak, because it's more you're positioning, here's what we're trying, and here's our methodology. Take a gander if you'd like, you know, I'll circle back with you. So it's not, please buy from me and schedule a call, which is what we see almost all the time.
Yes.
It's the opposite. It's no, here's the problem that we both mutually have. Here's been our approach to addressing it. Check it out. Would love your thoughts. See the difference? Huge difference, right?
And let's answer the question that's probably on some folks' mind. Is like, all right, Bill and James, when are we going to finally get to the point where we're going to sell this person? Well, So the logical next step here is to kind of circle back with this person, test their opinion, and offer them to come either see a demo, or we have 3 opportunities. We have opportunities like this to be on our live calls, an invitation to an executive briefing. We'll tell you about that. We're hosting next week. That's a live. There's a special date set. But we also have an ad hoc opportunity for one-to-one executive briefing, so we can immediately send someone a link and engage someone right in the moment, because they're in the moment with us. We don't want to wait. It's not like back in the day where we're sending an email and, hey, in 3 weeks, we'll do this. We'll have this conference call. It's, you know, hey, we have 15 minutes now. Let's do it. But you set the context for that. You've earned the right for that. And it's all going to be predicated on what you said, what you shared, what you feel is important, how we're aligned. And that's going to be quick value, and then you're going to start the dialogue. And you know, that's how we are going to use it. You know, the cobbler's kids have shoes, and that's how we're going to do it.
So I want to wrap this session up, everybody, with a goodie again. And so if we step back out, we went really in the weeds with you today, and we wanted to on purpose, because we really, again, we're hoping that you see from us an approach to our content with you that's a little bit different. And the fact that I don't see people online doing what we just did with you, that are freely giving this away and giving you some real-time insight. I mean, if you are, tell me. I'd love to check you out, because I really appreciate content creators that are giving high quality, you know, real insights. But we wanted to show you some things today that we do ourselves. This is what we would teach you and coach you on as a client. We do this with clients. And so now that we've just gone through focusing on a market with building the right list for your business, and then applying a message strategy that you can use to build really, really good messages that get responses, that people appreciate, we want to give you this free lead acceleration kit. If you go and see the ticker at the bottom there, text 973-310-2803. The word is send, and it will send you the lead acceleration kit. This is a PDF. It'll take you about 45 minutes. We launched this earlier this year. It's fantastic exercise for you and your sales team. Anyone that needs to kind of refocus real quickly, this is as good as a sales huddle in the morning. I would do this with your whole sales team once a week even. You guys would grow your sales. I guarantee you would grow your sales if you did this exercise right now. It's 21 ways to accelerate your sales pipeline. It takes about 45 minutes to get to do right. And you're looking through all the buckets in your conversations and relationships you've developed over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And it will immediately show you where you've missed or forgotten or just failed to follow up. And don't feel bad. It creates immediate opportunity for you to reach out to that person, reconnect. I'm sure their life is a little bit different than it was 3, 6, 9 months ago. Yours is too. It's a great reason to reach out again, especially if you've already started the relationship equity and there's some there. So take that offer, get it, use it. Let us know how it is for you. But that's just one of our favorite giveaways and goodies that we have on our website too. You can get it there if you want. But if you want it quick, just do it this way.
Hey, James, I'm going to go out on a limb and too, one of the things we talked about yesterday in list building is anyone who the challenge was to have them send us their top 10 lists of reasons to meet, right? Because that's important when building a list, and certainly with messaging. I would say anyone who wants to send us a little bit of their messaging, we'd be happy to look at it, do a really quick kind of wordsmith on it. And if you provide your contact information, we can give you some of the samples that we shared today online. So we just, again, want to keep it real, staying away from the how, more about the what. Two guys who carry the bag and are totally committed to your success and your enjoyment of this wonderful profession where we are in this space and time.
Yeah, there's the email, guys. If you want to email us from the show, info@ascendadvisors.com. I'd love to hear your feedback, your questions. And if you want any help on these two topics and you're using this right now and you want some more help looking at it, just email us what you're working on. We'll get back in touch with you and glad to have a free consultation with you. So that leaves us then with the final day of series on this tomorrow to round this out. It's a big one. We're going to get into sales process. What is a social selling sales process? And how do you combine that with injecting content marketing into your process so that you are in front of your audience, you're building credibility, you're establishing thought leadership, and you can have a systematic approach every day to engaging with the market that you want to and growing your business.
I can't wait for that session. That's going to be great.
That sounds good. I want to sign up.
We've got a ticket to our favorite band, right, tomorrow. So please join us, everybody. We'll have a great time. And again, there's goodies abound, and we're here for your success. We're totally committed.
Good to see you. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.